Okay, so I got Julia's delightful email, and we are in the Four Noble Truths. What I really should have studied is why we use the word noble and where does that come from? Because that's a question I've asked myself now for 30 years. I'm like, why noble? It could be so many things, but I didn't do that. So you guys can all be grateful because you probably don't want to hear 20 minutes of me talking about the word noble. But we're not much different though. So I read an article in Lion's Roar, and I spent some time going through some stuff, just having fun, and but it says the pursuit of pleasure can only grow into craving, and to me that ties into both substance addiction and process addiction really, really well, right? That habit energy, as Thich Nhat Hanh loves to call it. It's followed up by saying there's only three things that are certain, and that's aging, sickness, and death. Now, we could easily make that very negative. And it's not negative, it is reality. How we live our life and how well our life will be is really contingent on how well we deal with those three things. And they're guaranteed to happen. I drew myself this lovely little flower here, and it's just because it just reminds me of the roots of dukkha. See, this is a little dukkha flower. It's kind of pretty, and we can keep it pretty because there's some weird, cool things about dukkha too. Dukkha means suffering. It's Pali for suffering. A lot of the old Buddhist texts are written in Pali. The roots of dukkha ultimately are all ignorance. And ignorance is not seeing myself or the world as it actually is, right? Then there's desire. And one part of desire is aversion. There are certain conditions I want to avoid, right? So I never want to be in pain. I never want to be poor. I never want to be sad. And since I have aversion to those things, it creates suffering for me, as opposed to when they come, accepting them at that time, right? And the other side is grasping. So you get that fist grasping, right? Clinging on to things. And those are things I'm clinging on to. And I'm thinking, like some of the times when I would, excuse me, eat or drink for that grasping pleasure, right? I was seeking to hold on to a state of mind where I was in a continuous state of pleasure, right? And because it's a natural thing to want to do. If I have a lot of things in my life that are creating a lot of pain, I would want to avoid them by doing those things. And Buddhism really talks a lot about grasping as pleasure, trying to enjoy ourselves. I don't want to use that word. Seeking pleasure is it. You can enjoy yourself without being clingy. Materialism, I don't know how many times I think if I had this much money, things would be okay. I still think that. There's still this little wired program that goes, if I win the lottery, everything will be okay, which is baloney. If I win the lottery, I will be sick, I will age, and I will die. And so will everyone I know and love. Just like if I didn't win the lottery. It's going to happen, right? And then immortality. And just that wish that not only I could be immortal, but all of you could be immortal, right? If I know and appreciate you like I do so many people in this room, I never want to see anything bad happen to you. I never want to see you die or be sick, right? I never want to see you be sad. And I have no control over that. So I had satisfaction is only temporary. And being a person with a substance addiction and a process addiction, you know, as two primaries, right? Um, I was always looking for that satisfaction. It also being someone who's worked in not only education, but in treatment centers with counselors for decades now, really decades. I really grew to understand. And I know that some people who are addicts are looking for that first high they ever had. And I remember the first time I was drunk, I thought everything was okay. I remember the first time I was stoned, it felt like everything was okay. I go, man, I just want to be like this for the rest of my life, every moment like this. But it's elusive. It only lasts a little while. The more I would drink, the sicker I would get, right? Um, the more I would smoke, the more paranoid I would get. Seriously paranoid. And another thing is like to fix people. And I think if I could only fix this person, this relationship would be incredible. Or this person would be very happy, and because they're happy, I would be happy, right? That's another thing I've done. And again, you know, looking for that first high, but there's also just wanting to maintain this state of perpetual bliss where I never have to suffer ever again. But life is suffering. I want to get a hat that says that, like a beanie. Life is suffering. I think that would be just really good. And it would remind me every time I look in the mirror, go, oh yeah, life is suffering. And there's part of me that's just kind of like wants to just throw people off. I know, but it's okay. So still with the dukkha, the life is suffering. And they talk about the three things that can happen. There's dukkha, which is just solely suffering. And then there's, I hope I pronounce these right, viparinama, which means change. And I don't know how many times I don't want anything to change. Like, you asked me a year ago, you know, I'd like my wife and the 2 cats and the job I had, I would not wanted that to change. I'd want it just to stay all the same. And the house and the car, I just want everything to stay the same, because anything that's not that is scary, right? Reality, everything's changing constantly all the time. I'm not even the same person as I was a year ago. So I already changed. The other one is samkara, also known as samsara. And it's like being stuck or being conditioned. And addiction, my addictions have a lot to do with samsara, being caught in that trap. I think of it as flypaper. Has anyone ever been in an environment so gross where you hung flypaper up so you can catch all the flies that are flying around everywhere, and how they just all get stuck to this ribbon? It's not very festive. It's just got things dying all over it, right? That's what samsara seems to me. Things just stuck to it. They can't get off. And the suffering is so much worse because they're stuck. And they're so stuck. I feel like I've been so stuck that my well-being in my head would involve me staying stuck to the flypaper as opposed to being off it. And that gets into that illusion of my deep independent self, that I, that keeps me trapped on that flypaper. So there's a guy named Shantideva, a guy. He's a great Buddhist teacher. He is 8th century India. He influenced a lot of Tibetan Buddhism. All the joy the world contains has come through wishing happiness for others, while all the misery the world contains has come from wanting pleasure for oneself alone. All the joy the world contains has come through wishing happiness for others, while all the misery the world contains has come from wanting pleasure for oneself alone. Shanti believes the ultimate cause of suffering, the ultimate cause of dukkha, is an independent I, thinking that there's a me that is separate and independent from all of you, which is, if I look at myself scientifically, it's not even possible. That's what's crazy. It's not even possible. We are totally, I want to drop the word totally. We are arising in this moment and creating this moment together. And none of us are independent of that. We're all in it. Doesn't mean we can't be free. If we're not clinging to anything and just recognize that that's what it is, then it's all good. And, I was looking for quotes. This is the favorite quote I saw today. And I'm almost certain I'm always mispronouncing this guy's name, which is too bad because I've quoted him a million times, or at least a few hundred. Nagarjuna. And he was around 200 AD, and he's one of the great teachers. Some people put him right next to Buddha. A lot of Mahayana schools would. Nothing of samsara, remember that's this fly paper being stuck there, is different from nirvana. Nothing of nirvana is different from samsara. Nagarjuna said there's a razor thin line. I don't know if he used the word razor, but there's a thin line between nirvana, which is liberation, right, and samsara, which is being caught. A thin line. And in many ways, the existence would look the same. But the only difference is on one side of that line, I'm stuck on the fly paper and I'm resisting everything about me and clinging to an independent self. And on the other side of that fly paper, I'm recognizing the way the world really is and living my life free from attachments and free from cravings and free from ignorance, where I can create a true state of bliss. Kind of like that. Especially thinking on samsara and on nirvana. So as we go in, and again, I want to do chanting. I love chanting. And we can do about 5 minutes and then spend a few minutes just in silence. And I thought what would be one I thought would work really well with us. And it goes like this, and you can follow along if you wish, or just stay quietly meditating whenever you feel comfortable, both online and here. Om Namo Amitabhaya Buddhaya Dharmaya Sangaya. Om Namo Amitabhaya Buddhaya Dharmaya Sangaya. Om Namo Amitabhaya. Om Namo Amitabhaya. Om Namo Amitabhaya Buddhaya Dharmaya Sangaya. Om Namo Amitabhaya Buddhaya Dharmaya, Sangaya. Om Namo Amitabhaya. Om Namo Amitabhaya. Excuse me. Om Namo Amitabhaya. Buddhaya, Dharmaya, Sangaya. Om Namo Amitabhaya. Buddhaya, Dharmaya, Sangaya. Om Namo Amitabhaya. Om Namo Amitabhaya. Om Namo Amitabhaya. Buddhaya, Dharmaya, Sangaya. Om Namo Amitabhaya. Buddhaya, Dharmaya, Sangaya. Om Namo Amitabhaya. Om Namo Amitabhaya. Om Namo Amitabhaya. Buddhaya, Dharmaya, Sangaya. Om Namo Amitabhaya. Buddhaya, Dharmaya, Sangaya. Spend just a minute enjoying the vibrations of the chanting. As I lead the chanting tonight, I remember when I was younger that I could sing very well, especially when I was a Christian in Christian church for long periods of time. And now I recognize I'm I have a disease called rheumatoid arthritis, and that I'm getting older, and that it affects my vocal cords. It does. And what I love about it is it gives me a new appreciation for a type of beauty that I'd never recognized before. The recognition of my own voice chanting as it goes through the changes that everybody gets to go through in some way or another. And for that, I'm most grateful. Namaste. Okay, and the quote is from Nagarjuna, and it's, "Nothing of samsara is different from nirvana. Nothing of nirvana is different from samsara." So if you want to sit in a contemplative meditation, you can sit and breathe with that a while and see what comes up. I think those are awesome. Okay, let's prepare for dedication of merit. May we be happy and peaceful. May we be healthy and strong. May we be safe and protected. May we live with ease. Namaste.